So welcome back to another lesson in the Ultimate CCNA Prep course, where we are prepping you to take your CCNA exam to increase your income. And that increase of your income can be in a 9 to 5, whether you want to upgrade your position at work or just get a IT related job, or you want to sell your skills on places like Upwork, Fiverr, or just creating yourself a business out of it, right? So we're end of section 6, our last section, automation and programmability, right? So today we're actually going to be talking about subsection 6.6, which is all about Puppet, Chef, and Ansible. These are configuration management mechanisms. We'll briefly discuss a little bit. You guys can read more in the CCNA book, but we're just going to briefly discuss it because on the exam, they just want you to be able to recognize what these mechanisms are. Okay, so let's get into it. Sorry, let me hear that. All right, so when we're talking about configuration management mechanisms, right? They are basically an essential part when we're incorporating development into our networks, right? So it allows us to manage a bunch of devices, whether it's like a couple hundred or a couple thousand. It allows us to manage those on a consistent and a automated way, right? So there are a bunch of tools out there. There's a bunch of mechanisms out there that you can use, but the most popular are these three here: Chef, Puppet, and Ansible. Okay. Now these configuration management tools, they enable us to use what's called IAC, right? Infrastructure as a code. So it's basically where we present our IT environment as a code, right? So you know how we learned about, software as a service and all that stuff. This here is we have our infrastructure and it's all about being presented in code, okay? So they all have in common Chef, Ansible, and Puppet, and there's some other tools, but these ones are most popular. But these configuration management tools all have it. What they all have in common is they're like open source, right? So anyone can use it. You don't have to just be like in Cisco to use Chef, Puppet, Ansible. You can use them across the board. Anyone can use this. They have these internalized like definition files to where can be specific to you and what you're trying to use it for. And when you run it, you don't have to attend, right? You don't have to attend it, which is what automation is all about, right? And we have it's scripts, right? So we create these scripts that allows our infrastructure to be ran off of these codes. Okay, so just in a nutshell, this configuration management is just a process of software and on computer systems, right? That's going to manage all of our network equipment, servers, routers, switches, all our networking equipment, right? And it's going to do that on a consistent basis. It's going to do that in an automated way to where we don't have to have anyone sit there and manage our system for us. We have a code, right? An automation that does that, right? So as we build it up and we ensure that everything is how we want it to, we let it get managed by a computer, right? And we do so by these popular mechanisms, right? There are others out there, but as far as Cisco wants us to know, is the top 3 are the most popular ones, which again is Chef, Puppet, and Ansible, right? And again, these are scripts that we're going to write. Now for the CCNA, they don't specify that you have to know these scripts. Like you don't have to know how to actually write it and configure it and deploy it, but you must know the difference between them, right? You must know when you see Chef, Puppet, or Ansible, that is not another language to you. It's actually something that's like, oh, I know what these are, right? I mean, we talked about automation. This whole section, section 6, is about automation. So we know that automation just helps us with the with the man work, right? With the labor. Instead of someone doing it, we have a computer doing it, which helps us in cost in our company, and it helps with our staff being productive, right? We can better use those resources of staff to do stuff to help us actually grow as a company than to just manage the company. We have a computer to do that, right? And it's very difficult to go in and shut down an interface, all the inactive interfaces one by one, especially when you have thousands of devices, right? When you're thinking of companies that have an IT infrastructure, that have an IT department, you know, think of these big giants, Walmart, Amazon, Google, Samsung, Dell, Apple, like the list goes on and on and on. These places have IT departments, right? So they need to connect to the network to be able to communicate with each other and the outside world. They can market their business that way. That's how they're able to internally talk to each other, right? So no matter what, you need this type of ordeal in your company, right? You need networking, and you can either buy a networking like contracted services to deal with your network, or you buy this package where it's just all in one, right? Which is something we do at home. We don't have a networking department at our house, even though we have to connect to the network to speak to speak to the outside world. We just contact a service provider. Service provider just give us this router, but that service provider has a whole department of people ensuring that I can connect to the internet and to the outside world, just in my own lane, right? Remember, a WAN is a bunch of LANs put together. So either it's going to be individually in a home, or you're going to work for a company that has individually LANs that they actually put together. And you can work at the highest level. I say the highest level because, I mean, it's the internet, but to me, the highest level is working for a service provider, working for a cable company, working for AT&T, Comcast, Xfinity, Verizon. If you work for those companies in the networking department, to me, that's like top notch, because you're putting everyone together, everyone in the world together, everyone that's using the service together. As far as me, just working at Cisco, I'm only making sure that Cisco can talk to outside the world and outside world can talk to Cisco, right? I'm working with a specific company, and we're just talking about our infrastructure. But Comcast and Xfinity and all them, AT&T, these places actually deal with everyone all around. You know, it's not just proprietary to that. So, well, in a sense, it's only proprietary to everyone in AT&T, but it's service provider in a sense. You work for a service provider, not for someone who just has services like Cisco and jobs where, you know, you provide for. But regardless, we know that automation is something that is going to help our networks work better, work seamless, work always up, which is reliable. And for the ones like us, you know, we are going into the networking realm, the computer networking realm, and we are learning not only networks, but how to automate our networks. We are now the next level, okay? And again, just going back, this is how you make that money. Right? So let's actually go in and talk about these individually, just on a high level, so you can kind of understand the differences. But remember, the CCNA book will definitely give you more information, okay? So moving on, let's talk about Chef. So Chef is a popular configuration management tool, right? And we use Chef to deploy and manage our servers and like applications, whether they are on-prem or in the cloud, right? So again, we're gonna deploy this, which is, you know, send out these configurations, make sure that it is accessible and ready to use in production. And then while it's in production, everyone's using what the network, we are going to manage it. And we can do that by Chef, right? Chef. So these like definition files, which is like the files that's saying this is how you work it, right? It's like dictionary. They're called recipes, right? So we have you can see right here recipes. So we can put definition files equals recipes, right? They're called recipes. And these recipes can be combined with other type of files and other type of libraries and other things, so they can come together and become cookbooks, right? So def files plus, I'm gonna say libraries, but it could be other files. Let me put other files. Def files and other files. Did I spell that right? Files. It's right here. Anyway, definition files and other files will equal cookbooks. So we just have Chef has their files on how certain things are going to work, how you're going to build it out, how you're going to script it, right? Because a certain language is how you're going to use it. And these are all called our recipes. So we're going to use this type of recipe to do this type of task, do that type of task, right? So we have these definition files, and we can combine these different files, these different recipes with other files, like other different type of libraries, other dictionaries, right? Other ways of running a task, and that is called cookbooks, right? That's a cookbook. You can see that here. I believe they have other type of names going on in the chef sphere, but for right now, as far as Cisco is concerned, recipes and cookbooks, you definitely want to know that it belongs to Chef, belongs to the configuration management tool Chef, right? And basically, these files, like they define these configurations, and they can be like deployed no matter what infrastructure you're using, right? So if you're using maybe like Windows or Mac, like, sometimes different things work on different workstations, but it doesn't matter with Chef. You can use any type of, you can configure it on any type of operating system or architecture, I may say, right? So we have these recipes. They are definition files. Mixed with that, with our other libraries and attributes, we have them cookbooks, and they are domain specific to Chef itself. However, all of this is written in Ruby, right? It's all written in Ruby, okay? Ruby is just a programming language, right? So Chef, it is this tool, right, that has recipes and cookbooks, but the language that it talks is Ruby. Okay, that's something important for you to definitely jot down. Again, you should be always taking notes when you're going through these lessons, but just know that these cookbooks and recipes are written in Ruby. Very, 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 very important that you remember that, right? So a cookbook is the fundamental unit, right, of like the configurations of like the policies and all that stuff, right? And this cookbook defines like a scenario and what you're trying to do, right? So if you're trying to, I don't know, you're trying to shut inactive interfaces down, or you're trying to alert you when the interface does go down, or something in that sort. Then what you're doing is you have a cookbook that you're going to deploy to show what type of scenario you want to manage, you want to run, which is I want to run a management file that says any interfaces that are shut down without admin approval, are been shut down without administrative doing so, then please alert or please make this action, right? Because it has these files and these other files put together to create this scenario that we want to support, right? That makes sense. We want to manage, right? It's dynamic in its use. Well, it's not nothing that's like statically fit. It is dynamic, and you can use it. You can deploy these cookbooks in like real time, right? It's nothing to where if you do it, you have to shut stuff down. You have to completely turn everything off or shut it down or restart it or anything in that sort. You can just deploy it, right, while you're in production, and it's still going to go and not mess up the users and their traffic, right? So if there's a new feature going on in Chef, or there's a new feature going on and you want to implement that new feature in the environment, you can do so with Chef without the end users knowing, or obviously getting any type of interruption in their traffic flow, right? So downtime will definitely be minimum or none at all, right? There's no risk of like, dang, I can't make calls or I can't get on the internet because you deployed something in Chef. You deployed a new feature in Chef. Obviously it's flexible in that way, right? It is dynamic in that way. That's what I should use. But yeah, and it is cost saving. Um, at least that's what I read is cost saving, right? Cost saving than other like cloud providers. But I haven't been on that end of the deal to see exactly the cost compared to any other cloud providers, but it is popular, and that is one of the reasons why they say it is cost saving, right? Now, Chef, it is used within a lot of like big name people, big name companies, because it is dynamic and flexible. And it's been around for a minute now. So you can think of places like Expedia, right? When you go and get like your flights, when you're looking for flights or looking for like hotel, like deals on that. Let me see, who use Chef? Expedia. Expedia, yeah, Expedia. They use Chef in their environment. Who else? Oh, Facebook. Facebook actually uses a portion of it uses a portion of it with Chef. I believe HP. They use Chef in their environment, and it's a lot of people. I think Ancestry.com as well. Don't fact check me. I mean, you might want to fact check me on that, but I believe Ancestry as well. But I definitely know that Expedia and Facebook use Chef in their environment to deploy and manage certain aspects in their environment. Right. And Facebook is a really big giant that, you work for them in their networking department. You're definitely going to be using automation, right? Because Facebook, you want to ensure Facebook is like, technology, right? They're going to always update. It is a social media site, so they're always going to be updated. So you're always going to be using almost the latest technology, if not incorporating all technologies together, right? So that's Chef, right? It is flexible, it's dynamic. They have these files that are called recipes, and you mix these files with other types of files, other libraries or attributes, and put it all together into this nice cookbook, right? And this cookbook is written in Ruby. Right. And again, it is to deploy and manage our servers and applications, whether they are in-house or on the cloud. Right. As you can see here, we have our workstation, our policies, our recipes and cookbooks, all together, which we're going to deploy on our server. And our server is actually going to manage, right, whether it's on-prem or a physical a virtual server, or a cloud in the cloud, or whatever the case may be, right? Virtual cloud, kind of same thing. So yeah, that's Chef in a nutshell. Okay, moving along, let's talk about Puppet, right? So Puppet is one of the oldest automation tools out of the three, right? And right here, just give some bullet points. It performs the following functions, right? Puppet allows you to define distinct configurations for every host, right? So this is your Puppet, this is you on the server configuration or the workstation, and you are saying, okay, well, this one has A configuration, that one has B configuration, this one has C, D configuration, and it just goes on and on, right? So it actually allows you to define distinctive configurations for each host. It also is a tool that allows you to continuously monitor service to confirm whether they require a different type of configuration, or if the configuration was altered, something in that sort. So they're constantly, again, if I choose A for that server, Puppet is automatically going to keep monitoring this server to see, like, is it still A, right? Did someone change it to B, right? And who changed it to B, right? Because they want to monitor and see what's going on. And is A still there? Like, right? Like, it's just monitoring what's there. The required stuff is there. Did anyone alter it and change it in some sense, right? Which is good, because if it's changed, then, you know, the tool, this Puppet tool, will kind of like revert to like the predefined configuration for that host. So if someone did change it to B, Puppet can be like, well, it was an administrative change, so let me go ahead and erase B and keep it back to A. And we'll go back to A, right? So Puppet allows you to do that. So that's pretty cool. And another thing it does is it provides control over all the configured systems. So if there's like a centralized change, it gets automatically affected, right? So it's like if something happens to it, to where again, it's centralized, so it's going to send out configurations to its host. And if something actually gets changed, Puppet is actually it's affected in a way, right? And it goes back to continually monitor. It's going to affect in a way to where it's like, okay, well, I see this change. Now we're going to write Puppet we're going to configure it how we want it, right? We're going to tell it what to do and what not to do. So again, in the example, if it was changed to B and a admin actually did it, it's not going to make it go back to its original configuration, right? Because an administrator actually did it. And it says it also used as a deployment tool as it automatically deploys software in the system. So let's just say C needs to be updated because it's on 12.1. The newest one that came out is 13.7. Puppet will say, well, we're going to update you to the latest, which is 13.7. Right, so we can automatically deploy software to the system. Or let's just say that this server is our voice server and it needs software that only voice can hold. It will automatically deploy that software so we can use it as a voice server, right? Maybe it needs certain software for DHCP, like, I don't know, I'm just making up terms at this point, but it will automatically deploy software that our hosts actually need, right? And remember, this as well is still infrastructure as a code, okay? It's the infrastructure that we're going to manage, but it's all written in code, okay? So just like Chef, it uses these files, but these files are actually called, let me erase that, you guys. So these files are actually called modules, right? And these modules basically define the system when it's final, right? The final state of the system. Like, this is what it's actually going to be. This module is in this state, whatever the module is called. I don't know I'm not going to go too deep into Puppet, just because I mean, on our end, as the getting the CCNA, we are not required to know the in-depth of it, but we are required to know what is Puppet and how is it used, right? So again, so you can at least speak to it. So we're not going to go like really deep dive into Puppet like that, because I don't want to confuse you guys, right? So, so we have these modules, right? And these modules define like the final state of this system. Now, this Puppet deployment, it consists of client machines, right? So we have a client machine, and or they call it agent. Agent, right? Client machines, they call it agent, and that periodically like control or get updates with our, we're gonna say, I think it's called master with our master controllers, right? So we have a master and we have an agent. So in a Puppet environment, you have to have these two to fully work, right? To fully take leverage of these modules. And if you want to update any modules, any of that, you need that master who's going to master everything, and our agent who's actually going to push out everything. Right now, Puppet is in this like specific language that's to them. I believe it's like DSL or something, descriptive or domain specific language. I believe it's domain specific language, but they have this specific language to them, but it's still Ruby, right? Or they say it's similar to Ruby, but I call it Ruby regardless. So it's still written in Ruby regardless, but I believe the language is DSL. You might want to read the CCNA book. I believe it's like chapter 20, chapter 19, one of those. And it kind of goes a little more into the language of Puppet, but I'm going to say, for the sake of this video, it's Ruby. It's just like Ruby. It's just DSL is what they're actually called, right? What the language is called for this specific environment. Okay, so in a sense, well, not even in a sense, it is just like Chef, right? It's a configuration management tool, right? Infrastructure as a code. We have this whole infrastructure that we're deploying as a code. It's going to manage our infrastructure, right? That Puppet specifically, that allows us to manage our infrastructure, manage our hosts, send out different configurations to hosts that's specific to that host, right? And monitor that host. And if that host change, Puppet will say, okay, well, if it's not administrative change, and it depends if you set it up like this, but most of the time you'll set it up to, if an administrator did not change it, then I'm going to revert back to what it was. If the administrator did change it, then I'm going to hop on board and do what I need to do, right? So that's Puppet. As you can see, there's some similarities between Chef and Puppet. Puppet's just older than Chef, but Chef is more popular than Puppet. Okay, so let's go into our last one. Our last one is Ansible. Everyone loves Ansible, right? Ansible is the most popular of these management tools, right? And everyone loves them, especially network engineers. And I believe it's because it's a little easier to. So like instead of like, Puppet or any of the other tools, but instead of Puppet and Chef, since we're talking about that now, it doesn't require like an agent to run on these machines, right? We don't need an agent. We just need like a remote destination, right? Well, we just need remote access, right? Which obviously, what's remote access? SSH and Telnet, right? But we're going to stop saying Telnet because Telnet is it's not secure, and we just don't want to, have our confidential information to be out there in the public, right? Or for anybody to even see our information, right? We don't want to be vulnerable to it. So we will always use SSH. So Ansible allows you to use SSH and your terminal, right, to connect to these nodes and run specific commands that you want. So it's very easier on the engineer side. That's not really a software developer, right? Because even though we are engineers, we have to know software developing, but that don't make us a developer. It just makes us a better engineer. So what do we want to do? We want to use tools that go along with our narrative, which is engineering, but still allows us to grow in the software development side, right? So Ansible helps us with that. That's why it's really favorable with engineers, because it's more to our speed, right? All the other tools are more development tools, are more like, specific to like software developers. And if you're going down that road, then cool. But if you're not, then it's kind of like, I gotta go down that road, right? So anyway, so instead of having this agent, we can, SSH in it. And of course we're remote when we're doing that. And when we do that, we can deploy and manage and maintain all of our hosts, right? Whether it's a controlling host or an agent host or just a regular host. Well, it's only controls and agents, but we can manage all of them, right? And it's very easy to deploy than the other ones. Like I said, like you have to be more you have to be really into the software development side to really understand, because you have to learn Ruby. You gotta learn how to speak that. Ansible is actually in the language YAML. I don't know why I want to say XML, but YAML, which is weird because it stands for like ain't markup language. Ain't, I spelled that wrong. Ain't mark up language. That's what YAML stands for. I don't know where the Y is at, It was weird when I first learned. I'm just like, what? Okay, but that's basically what it is, and it's and I call it probably like it's almost like JSON, where it's easy to read and kind of like decipher what's happening. But it's YAML ain't markup language, so I guess it's not a markup language, right? Because it's ain't markup language. I don't know. Don't ask me why, but it's human readable. Again, it's easy for us to read and decipher the data, right? So, and this YAML is like commonly used for configuration files and applications where it is going to be stored and transmitted. So Ansible used this language as it's deploying and managing the infrastructure. And of course, it's easier on the engineer side, the network engineer side, because we are not software engineers. We're not software developers. So we don't want to have to learn a whole nother language. We want stuff that is very easy for us to understand and the computer to understand. So, you know, YAML is the language of choice, right? Even though it says it's not a markup language, whatever. I'm not here for the semantics, right? So obviously, just like the other two, the Ansible has these files, right? And these files are called something, and they're called playbooks. Playbooks, yeah, playbooks. They're called playbooks. So Chef has recipes and cookbooks, and Ansible has playbooks, right? Puppet, they have modules, right? It's just modules, but Ansible has what's called playbooks, and they're just their configuration files, right? And obviously they're formatted in this language, in this ain't markup language, right? Which is so weird, but whatever. But Ansible also provides Python, right? Python API, to be exact, actually. This Python API is for controlling the nodes, controlling the host, and responding to things that are changing, like new updates or just anything that's changed in the environment on this host, aka this node, is using a Python API, right? And obviously we're going to access that through SSH. So our Ansible management, we're going to, obviously we're SSH into a group, to a node, to a host, however you want to say it. And it's going to be, our information is going to translate through an API, right? API for one program to talk to another program. Right? And again, as you can see, we have our playbooks, we have our inventory, this is who's here, and then Ansible can manage and deploy how it needs to deploy, right? Maybe in group A, we're using OSPF. In group 2, group B, we're using EIGRP, right? So obviously it needs certain different type of configuration files, different type of updates that it needs, different type of software. So Ansible knows how to treat it, right? And obviously we go into it as the human of it all, the controller of it all. We can go into it as through SSH, right? So, and really people are just going to say that it's really good because you don't have like this master and this agent, or you don't have this agent. You can just push this tool via a remote destination, right? A remote machine, which is just your computer, right? Through like PowerShell or command terminal or bash or whatever, you know. So yeah, that's Ansible. I would say definitely make sure that you read this chapter so you can deep dive into Ansible just a little bit more if you're feeling confused. But as long as you understand, let's go back. As long as you understand that Chef has their files are recipes and cookbooks written in Ruby, right? Puppet has modules that's written in DSL, but it's the same as Ruby, right? And then you have Ansible, right? Which their files are playbooks. Okay, they're called playbooks and they're written in YAML, right? And they also have another thing, which is Python APIs, which allows Ansible to talk to our hosts, right? Python is just good. We like Python. So just them being able to integrate Python APIs is just, you know, it's just another tool of why we would like Ansible, why we want to work with Ansible. you know, very, very engineer friendly. Okay. Now, moving on. Well, that was it. We talked about Ansible versus Puppet versus Chef, right? Chef is popular, most used. I ain't gonna say most used. What should I say about Chef? Chef is it's just popular. I ain't gonna say most, right? They're all popular. I'm just gonna say popular, right? Puppet is the oldest, right? And then Ansible is the most popular, right? So all of these configuration tools are the top 3 tools that you'll see when you go out into the networking field and then you start delving into the automation side. How do we manage our network in an automated way? Is going to be one of these ways, right? So as far as the book, I honestly didn't check, right? But I believe it's probably like 19 or 20, the chapter. Don't get me to lying. Just make sure you put in this the field, the search field, the little magnifying glass, the find field, like 6.6 and whatever, you know, or you may just put Ansible, Puppet, Chef, so you can get to the section in the book to where we're actually talking about these 3 things. Okay. Now, after you read all that, I definitely want you guys to make sure from there, you should have read all chapters in the book, right? Read all chapters, right? We should have already did that one by one every day for the past 6 weeks. Oh, excuse me. So if I was you, I would go back through the volume 1 and volume 2 and ensure that you actually touched on each chapter. And if you haven't, actually go through that chapter and see what you missed and see what you need to add to your notes. Okay. So 6 weeks for the ones in the live. Let me close this. For the ones in the live, this has been 6 weeks. This is actually our 6th week. This is a 6 to 8 week course. So we have about 2 more weeks. Those 2 weeks will really be studying, making sure we take this exam. We have a final exam of everything that we learned from section 1 to section 6, right? And it's going to be all compiled together. And what I suggest you do is I suggest that you have your maybe one tab is the final exam, and the other tab is volume 1 of the book, and you have another tab that's like volume 2 of the book, right? However, how you want to do it, I don't know, but make sure you have those 3 items up on your computer. So when you go and take the exam, you choose a question. You answer the question, and the question is wrong. You can now reference the book to say, why did I choose that? How is it wrong? What is the right answer? So you know how to move forward, right? This is not something where you're going to take the exam, no books allowed or anything like that. What I want you guys to do is actually learn. And how you're going to learn is you're going to actually take an exam and you'll be like, dang, I don't remember this question, or I believe it's this answer and it's wrong. I don't have explanations in the exams. I want you guys to find the explanations, right? So then you know that you need to focus on this type of section because you got that section wrong. And you can either make it into a flashcard. I suggest make it to a flashcard, but definitely put more notes on it. That's how I want you guys to kind of take this exam, but you can take it how you want to. I just want you guys to ensure that you understand what's happening, right? And then just keep going and keep going. I would say continue taking this exam until you hit the passing grade. So if you fail, keep taking it. Fail, keep taking it. You cannot move on until you pass the passing grade, which I believe is 80%. And there's probably about 70 questions on there. Half of those questions are easy peasy, right? Like, what do switches do, right? What's a VLAN? Most of the questions are like that. So you should at least get more than a 50%. If you didn't make more than a 50%, you may need to rewatch some videos because a lot of this is like really, really, really easy questions. Okay. So that's what we're going to do for the ones on the live. That's what we're going to do for the remainder of these 2 weeks. Is I want you guys to study for this exam. I also want you guys to to reach out for me for your one-on-ones, right? I'm not going to hunt you down for the one-on-ones. I want you to come to me when you're ready so we can actually talk about the next steps since we actually finished all the sections and you took your final exam. Reach out to me so we can actually have a discussion and talk about what's the next step for the future and what's the next step to increase your income, right? Because everyone is different and I don't want to make everyone wear this one shoe. I want everyone to be, tailor made. So just reach out whenever you have free time. I'll adjust my schedule so we can talk. Okay. I mean, you pay for this lesson, you pay for the course, so you pay for the one-on-one, right? It all comes bundled. So let me put that down, one-on-one, so you guys know, one-on-one consultations, chit chat, talk it out, see where you're at, see where you're trying to go, and steps to get you to that. And the next 2 weeks, there may be a couple lessons. I know for sure there will be a LinkedIn lesson. So we can get our LinkedIn profiles together, right? So we can start having recruiters call us instead of us filling out 1,000,002 applications, right? Because that's not feasible, right? We're not going to fill out applications like that. We want recruiters to talk to us. And then we'll maybe have an HTML and CSS lesson just so you guys can kind of understand HTML and CSS. I feel like it's really important for a lot of folks just in the IT department to know what HTML is, what it looks like, so you're not scared of it when you see it out in the real world. But that's an optional lesson. I don't know if I'm going to do that. I had one person ask me, so I may just do it with that one person. But we'll see. Let me see here. It looks like I have a question. Post a job in Slack, you didn't respond, and those jobs that are available, are those the type of jobs that you talking about, jobs that are available to you or just to the CCNA?
No, I had went online to a different page and looked like it was a cloud technician job, and so I screenshotted and posted the example. So if you can expand and see if those are the type of jobs, or is that how the recruiting is going to look, and expectations. You talked about the last lesson that we went over, Python. I don't know if you had a chance to look at it.
Let me see. Let me go back to Slack. Okay. Scroll up. Okay. AWS engineer. Okay. Top skills, AWS, Python. Okay. I mean, that's something that you can apply to. I feel is this if you are looking at the skills that they want you to have, the required skills, and you meet at least 50% or more, I mean, why not apply, right? They're going to have different types of preferred qualifications, and nothing hurts but a try, right? You don't know what they're looking for. They don't even know what they're looking for. They just put some stuff online. So why not say, well, I feel like I'm the best, and you never know. They may say, well, I do like your resume. It doesn't match up exactly on how the post looks like, but I like your experience. I like what you have going on. Let's talk to you. So anything that you feel that you want to work in, or you feel like this is a position for you, whether you have the experience or not, just apply. I mean, the worst they can say is no. The worst they can do is just not give you an interview, right? Which we do all the time. We fill out applications. We fill out about 50 of them, and maybe one or two actually reaches out. So, give it a try.
Right. I just saw it because you had just went over the Python lesson with us. And so once I saw that description, I was just asking you, based off the little information you shared with us, these are the type of Python jobs that would be available to us, or is this the type of stuff we should be looking for? So I really was asking the question, basically.
Yeah, I mean Python. When they have Python in their job, like the required skills, it could be whether just beginners Python or expert Python. You never know. That's why I said just apply, because just because it said Python, you don't know the level of experience unless they specify you need 3 to 5 years. But even with that, like, I mean, still apply, right? It's when you're looking for a job again. I mean, if you feel like that's something that you want to be in, then definitely go for it, because not all job boards or not all positions are going to fit one thing, right? So they may say you have to have Python experience, no Ansible, no security. They may have all these things, but until you apply and present yourself to them, they don't really know what their ideal candidate is going to be, right? Or the candidate they're actually going to hire is going to be, if that makes sense. You know, I'd say, especially when we get into the LinkedIn part, we'll have recruiters call us because we have these keywords in our resume. But never be afraid to apply for stuff, whether that's something that you feel we went over a little bit in class or a lot in class, just apply. If you see a job, just apply to it because it doesn't hurt, right? you
Okay,
know,
no
yeah,
problem.
yeah, it doesn't hurt. I'm not really going to be looking for jobs for you guys. We're just going to set up our resumes and make sure that we post that resume on LinkedIn so we can be marketable. But the jobs that you want is all dependent on you, right? It depends on what you want to do, what field that you want to go through. That job right there, it kind of looked like it was more into software developing in some sense than actual network engineering, right? So they wouldn't care if you had a CCNA. They care if you have these software development tools. So if you are the person that's like, well, I like software development more than network engineering, then this will probably be an ideal job for you because it says AWS, So to me, it's really more geared to some type of development than engineering, if that makes sense. Um, so yeah,
Gotcha.
yeah. It's all good with any job that you choose, even if it's like a desktop job, right? Something that building computers or fixing computers. That's still something you can apply with getting this information because you know how computers communicate, right? You know how the different operating systems. So you know a little bit more than the next person. So it's nothing for you to transition into a specific role. And that's what I want to get you guys to put everything on your resume, get it nice and pretty, get market on LinkedIn because that's where everyone is at, and see what comes at you, right? And see what you can get. And hey, it could be a beautiful marriage, right? So yeah, this is the end of the sections with the 6 weeks. Again, for the ones in the live, we have 2 more weeks of just studying and getting prepared to increase our income, which is getting into a job or learning how to actually market our skills and sell them online. And then after that, and make sure we get our one-on-ones in, right? That's very important. And then after that, we're on to our next workshop. The next workshop will be a CCNP workshop, 6 to 8 weeks. So it's more of a beta stage. This will be like the first workshop I've done with CCNP. So if you guys want to come with me on that journey, you definitely can. You do not have to have a CCNA to get your CCNP. You could just jump right to a CCNP. So if you feel like you like network engineering, you don't have to get your CCNA at this point. You can just say, hey, I know some information. Let's go to CCNP and make even more money, right? So I'll have that posted. I'll send in blast email when we are actually ready to start that workshop. And it'll be 6 to 8 weeks just as well, so we can go ahead and get our CCNP. And the reasons for these workshops that will be continuous for however long, I don't know, is because we always talk about going back to school, getting our degree. This is our degree right here, right? You're still going to do the same thing. You're going to show up for class every day. You're going to put in your hours, have the syllabus, and we're going to learn, right? And if you want a bachelor's degree, you're going to have to learn the same amount in bachelor's. What is that, 4 years? So if you take this IT and you learn it every day, Monday through Friday at least, right? Of course, you have your breaks, spring break, Christmas break, all that stuff, but you continue to learn for 4 years straight. You have a bachelor's in computer science. You have a bachelor's in IT infrastructure. You're just not accredited by a school, but it doesn't matter because you can talk that talk, right? People with degrees are not getting hired over with people without degrees. It's how can you talk to me, right? And I don't know if you've heard, but a lot of people are not. A lot of employers don't care about degrees. Like, who cares that you went to Stafford? Who cares that you went to Xavier? Like, can you help me solve this problem, right? So that's what we'll be doing. We're going to school, right? We're becoming professionals in our craft, and we're branching out. So if you guys definitely feel like IT is where you want to be, join me on this journey. As you know, I'm a chef, right? I'm gonna go do my food stuff, but it's always room to grow and expand your knowledge. I don't like to do just one thing. I like to do multiple things. So tech and food is my multiple things I like to do. So if you want to be on the tech side, I'm your girl, right? So any questions, comments, concerns, definitely reach out to me in Slack for the ones in the replay. What I do want to show you guys really quick, let me share. Am I sharing my screen properly? Yes, discard. So not yesterday, but probably yesterday for the ones that are live, but the previous lesson was about APIs, and we did something with Postman. So I kind of wanted to bring up something. I meant to do it in the video in the previous lesson, just to show you guys how you're going to be working with Postman and APIs and how you can read JSON. But you probably already did that. If not, I do want to show you just some things from my point of view. While that's loading, I do want y'all to finish this if you haven't. Introduction to Model-Driven Programmability. If you haven't did it, definitely go ahead. It's only an hour and 30 minutes. That's just so you can actually finish out your 5 free learning labs that Cisco DevNet gives you. And you can definitely play around with more of it. But as long as you did these 5 labs, you're good to go with automation, at least on a engineering sense. So let's see. It's doing this loading thing here. Let me come back to that. Okay, cool. So let me open up a new one. So obviously this is our Postman. This is how we can test our APIs, create APIs, pull up different codes and everything. It's just a really good hub, right, for folks like us who are learning more automation, especially automating our networks, right? So we talked about the get, post, and delete and stuff, our CRUD, right? So this is exactly what you're gonna do. You're gonna say, okay, I want an HTTP action verb, right? Let's say I want to get some information, right? I want to post some information. Post is create, right? I want to put our patch, delete is delete, right? So let's get, I wish I had this copied and pasted. I don't want to actually take out. So you want to get some information. So what you're trying to do, we have our API. This is how we work with APIs, is through this app. And we're trying to use the action verb get, right? So we want to get information. We're going to send a request, and then our response is going to come through in our nice little response area. So let's actually do that. So let's see, HTTP, right? We got to type out the URL, and I'm obsessed with like Harry Potter, so don't judge me. So I like to go to Harry Potter APIs. So Harry Potter API HeroUapp.com, right? It's going to say API. And what I want to do is I want to get the characters from Harry Potter. I want to say what characters are in Harry Potter. Okay, so I want to get that information. So I'm just going to send that request, and a response from the server is going to come back. And let's see, it actually is going to show us, let's see, it just gives us the JavaScript body. Let me see, HTTP ... Let me make sure I did it right. Hero K. I always miss that K. All right, so let me fix my URL so I can actually get the response I'm looking for, which is my characters. Okay, HeroKUapp.com/API/characters. Let me see. because I think the URI is not working fully. Oh no, not students. I think just student. Let me see. HTTP, AP, API. Is it dash? Let me go back to my thing. I think, no, it's characters. Because if I want to just get students, I would get students. So let me put a dot right here and see if that is, there we go. So this is the actual URL. That's why I want to copy and paste it, because whatever. So I'm getting Harry Potter characters through an API. I'm sending it. Don't worry about that, y'all. It's my phone. So the server gave me a response, and that response is in JSON, right? That's the language that it responded to me, and it's going to display that. It's JSON language. And we know that JSON is easy to read. We can guess exactly what the parameters are, what the data is. So as we can see, we have a character, which is Harry Potter. Obviously, it's going to be the first character. Human, gender, male, house, Gryffindor. Like, it's going to tell you all the stuff. Let me see what else you have. Why is my mouse like this? Can I move it up a little bit? Okay, there we go. Okay, so boom. So we got Harry Potter, right? It tells us all the stuff about this character. Hermione, you see, it tells us about this character. It's gonna give us every character in Harry Potter, right? What house, the date of birth, the ancestry, it gives us everything that they have on this character. So another thing I can do, right? Because I'm talking via API. I'm using the API to get this information. We can say instead of characters, let's get students, right? And I don't want all the characters. I want just the students. And then they're going to give me the students, right? Obviously, Harry is a student, Hermione's a student, Ron is a student, Draco's a student, Luna's a student, right? All the students, Jenny, right? I can do staff, right? Who's the staff in Harry Potter, right? So it gives me the staff. Dolores, Miss Norris. Some information is not there, like date of birth, ancestry. I don't think the creators of the book or the creators of the movie actually had this information. But some stuff is blank, that's just up to the creators. But as you can see, it gives us the information in JSON language, but we can read JSON because it's human readable, right? It's easy, but the computer can read it as well. Right? So we have our brackets right here, which are dictionaries, right? And then where's our other brackets we have, right? So our dictionary. I don't know if they're gonna have lists, because usually have a list of things, but they're not giving us the list. They're just giving us the dictionary of a specific character, right? And not only are they a character, this is the staff characters. Oh, this is the list, right? So we got this right here, this is called an array right here. I don't know why I can't get it to whatever, but I'm gonna put right here, this area, this little symbol. That's an array, and that's displaying a list. And then this one right here is our object. That's called an object, and it's displaying our dictionary, right? That's how I look at it. So definitely that's how you want to decode it. And again, it's really not much to decode. Like, I mean, we see the name, the species, the gender. Like, it's not really like, oh, I can read JSON. Like, we all can read JSON. So yeah, it's pretty cool. I don't know, maybe I can do like houses, maybe. Okay, no, maybe they don't want that. Maybe it's house. Okay, they can't get, right? House. Yeah, I don't know the API, the actual URL for just the house, to see the different houses, but that's essentially how you're going to use it. Remember how I actually got this up here. We have the dad jokes, right? API is going to give us these dad jokes. Why did the number 4 get to the nightclub? Because he is too square. That's so lame. But it's so cool to work with APIs and actually work with this Postman. If you can get familiar with this, you are forever, employable. That's all I can say. Like, this is like next level. It's nothing new, right? It's been around for a long time, but just that you coming into when not a lot of people actually are in it, it just makes you just, that rare. It just makes you that commodity that they want to, have in their business. But that's it. That's really all I want to really show you guys, because I wasn't able to show you last for the previous lesson. And we talked about APIs, and I want you guys to see like what's these commands: get, post, put, patch, delete. Some other ones, but you really only use like CRUD, right? Which is the create, read, update, and delete, right? But definitely make sure you know how to speak in that language. How I'm able to tell you guys this: CRUD, what is this, what's Postman, how I can do APIs, JSON. Like, if you can give these type of key terms, these hot terms, this language, then you're definitely going to get an employer's attention. And they're going to be like, oh, okay. And they may ask you some stuff that throws you off your pivot, but it's okay. You can BS with them, or you can tell the truth, like, I don't really know that, I just learned this not too long ago, whoop-de-whoop. You can do it how you want, finesse it a little bit, but just the fact that you're able to speak to it, and whether you're honest or you know how to finesse the conversation, then, I mean, you may be in luck to a good job that you didn't know you actually qualified for, right? So yes, I'm done here. Again, questions, comments, concerns, reach out in Slack. This is our last lesson. The final exam will be uploaded tomorrow at 9 a.m. You do not have to take it at 9 a.m. You take your time, take it when you're ready. For the ones in the live, you have 2 weeks to take it, but take it whenever. It's up to you. Just make sure you get it done. If you have any questions, again, reach out. Do not email. I have like 2 emails that I just looked at and I'm like, stop. So stop with the emails. There will be extra labs posted tonight. So if you need any labs on OSPF, NAT, NTP, DHCP, static, whatever, IPv6, subnetting, I'm uploading all of these tonight, as well as this video, so you guys will be able to have extra labs to do, so you can be extra confident in talking and getting a job in this type of IT realm. Okay, so yeah, that was it. Maybe we will probably have another video, maybe sometime next week, Tuesday, Wednesday.